Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you on this Wednesday. And now we're joined by the Hall of Famer, Rick Bozich from WDRB.com. Rick, how are you, sir?
Good, Jim. How are you?
Great. Lots of stuff to get to, especially that you've been covering. First of all, the Bermuda Triangle of basketball, Louisville, Kentucky, and Indiana, has looked like they have all entered the Bermuda Triangle this season.
I as the column I wrote began, this does not compute. We both remember a day when it was even laughable to suggest any of the three would miss the NCAA tournament. That wasn't going to happen. They were going to be in the NCAA tournament. A couple of them were going to get to the Sweet 16, and one would probably get to the Elite Eight or Final Four. We are looking at a season where Louisville's not going to go to the NCAA tournament. Kentucky is, last time I saw something last night, somebody posted they were the last one in or something. And Indiana's trending in the wrong direction. So I don't know what to say anymore.
Yeah. Louisville.
It's not facilities, it's not funding, it's not fan interest, but it ain't working.
Well, with Calipari, I said 2 years ago, I said this would be his last year, but I thought it was for something. I said because the one and done era is over, and he cannot no longer one and done people, which he is always just out talented. He did not out coach people. Well, now that has been equalized. But Indiana, in the same way, they have a little bit better talent this year, but are not doing as well. And yeah, injuries are part of that, but it was not going well before that. So, and it's trend, and this was not trending upwards, either of them. You've got a long-standing coach with John Calipari, which there's always the beginning of an end for something. Everything ends. Mike Woodson, on the other hand, only season and a half in, but in this day and age, you just don't get that grace period anymore, Rick. It's too easy to turn a basketball program around with the portal and NIL money.
Yeah, I mean, you have fans that look around at Iowa State, second-year coach in. They just kicked another team's butt last night. They're in the top 15. You look at Kansas State. They've had some big wins. They were up to number 11 in the poll. You look at Shrewsbury's made some strides real quick in 2 years at Penn State. And, I agree with what you're saying. Indiana, the Rutgers loss was on the board there before anybody got hurt. They got outworked and out determined and out toughed in that game. Then they come out against Arizona, and Xavier played in that game, and they were a notch below Arizona. They were. And then they go into Kansas, and Xavier gets hurt. They got run out of the gym, and they've come back. I don't care who's out. When you're up 21 points at Iowa, you got to win that game. It was too reminiscent of the game they lost last year against Wisconsin. You got to find.
Except they were not nearly as talented as that Wisconsin team was.
Right. You got to find a way with the veteran dudes you have that you win that game. And then the Northwestern game, I don't even know what to say about that. You can't. So I mean, yeah, it's losing Xavier Johnson's a big deal for this team. He was their pit bull on defense. He was the guy most likely to bring it on defense every night and get other guys to bring it too. He was competitive. He is about winning. And with him gone, the defense has taken a step back. But man, somebody pointed this out and I checked it out. It was true. In the last 4 games they've lost, they've given up at least 40 points in every half of those games. That's not going to get it done. And, we're at the point now where, Mike Woodson's, just like Calipari always says, they're not robots, and we're everybody's Super Bowl. Mike Woodson's trademark line is, "We've got to find a way to get these guys over the hump." It's like, yeah, we all know you got to get them over the hump. How are you going to get them over the hump, or when are you going to get them over the hump?
Yeah, that the constant. Well, there's starting to be some excuse making, and that never goes over well. And there's never been specific answers of, okay, why has Trace Jackson Davis not improved? Why did he not get a little bit better as far as, and I was talking earlier, one of the things that aggravates me is at the end of their warm-ups, every home game, maybe road too, I think.
They shoot those 3-point shots.
And I'm like, you know what? Maybe spend that time shooting a 12-foot jumper right up until you have to go into the locker room. Because I don't think anybody needs you hitting a half-court shot, but they damn sure could use you hitting a 12-foot jump shot throughout the game. 10-foot jump shot, 8-foot jump shot. That shows me that they're not locked in.
The TikTok videos aren't quite so funny when you're losing games.
See, luckily for me, I'm not on TikTok, so
I'm not either. But I just heard about what was going on. It's like instead of spending so much time worrying about doing TikTok videos, Miller Kopp, spend some time on staying in front of your guy.
Yeah, it's the truth, though.
You get blown by 3 or 4 or 5 times every game.
It is the absolute truth. I don't think these guys are focused and locked in, and they don't have enough talent and enough coaching apparently to get them locked in. So I don't know what it's going to take for this team to change, but until things change, this is what you're going to see.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I agree in terms of other teams have players too. Other teams have determination and coaching too. And if you're going to come out there and think you're good enough just to beat people with 8 minutes of really hard effort or 14 minutes of really hard effort, it's not going to happen. It's really not going to happen. We've already seen it. I mean, Iowa is a team you should beat, and Northwestern is a team you've got to beat at home. And I don't know, man. I watch it and I just said, I don't get it.
Well, here's a great question Forrest posed, because it was actually a question I asked Trace Jackson Davis in the post game. I specifically, Coach talked about working harder, or that you all have to work harder. And I asked Trace, what is it specifically that you all need to work harder on? And part of his answer was that they had a great game plan. They didn't follow it. And I would have loved to have answered the follow-up. Why? Why are you not following the game plan if it's a good game plan? Why are you all not doing what you're supposed to do? Those are the answers to the questions that will change things. But until those are answered or addressed, nothing's going to change.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's some of the old, Indiana fans have been around long enough that they always default to the old Coach Knight axiom of, if you're not doing the job, then sit your butt on the bench and let somebody else play. And I think if it continues tonight, then you need to see, put Logan Duncombe in the game, see what he can do. Put Anthony Leal in the game, see what he can do. Put Caleb Banks in the game, see what he can do. If they can, and tell him, you're in there to play defense. You're in there to stop your man. And that the inability to defend straight line drives against Northwestern was really, that's basic basketball. You've got to be able to stay between your man and the basket and not get beat. But they couldn't handle Boo Buie, and they couldn't handle Chase Audige. We've seen those guys from Northwestern do this to Indiana 3 years in a row. Hasn't Northwestern beat Indiana at least once 3 years in a row?
I think so.
The last two were at Evanston. Last year it was the suspension game, and I'm pretty sure they beat him when Archie was there. So, and Chase Audige, it was 2 years ago. That was the first time I heard of the guy. They can't guard a guy who's, he's maybe a slightly above average Big Ten guard. He's not an All-American. He's not a pro.
And I don't understand. There's no way that Indiana should not be more athletic than Northwestern. I did not say that they were not athletic earlier, but they're not. Those guys are smarter than they are athletic. Maybe that's helping them on the floor because they got 24 points off of Indiana turnovers, which is an astounding number. I've never even seen that number, I don't think.
I've seen it all year at Louisville. So Louisville had 21 turnovers the other night against Syracuse. But you're right. That, and I see Chris has in the chat, wonder if AU ball has something to play into it. I think that does have something to play into, the losing. Yeah, we got another game, or we're in the next tournament next week or whatever. And I also think they don't value possessions as much. The game has changed from, I think, the way coaches coached it a number of years ago, where if you made a turnover, it was a really big deal. These days, people turn it off. Too many guys too trying to make, every basket's worth 2 points or 3 points. I don't care if you dunk it. I don't care if you jump over two guys. I don't care if you threw a pass that was, a 70-foot bounce pass in between two defenders. if a guy lays it in, it counts 2 points, not two. You don't get extra bonus points because it was a highlight play. And you got too many guys trying to hit home run plays instead of just, give me the singles and doubles.
Yeah, and you mentioned Logan Duncombe. That's a kid that if he doesn't start playing, he won't be here next year. I can tell you that. There's no way. You bring in Malik Renew, who in the beginning of the year looked awesome, was playing like the hype and hit Big Ten season, and he's kind of hit this wall that he's not gotten past he's too slow for right now. He gets in foul trouble. And Logan Duncombe, and I brought this up yesterday, and whether they were similar positions or not, he played against Caleb First, throughout AAU and pretty much dominated him all the time. Yet Caleb First is starting at Purdue, and Duncombe cannot find the floor. I can't imagine there's that much of a disparity when we're talking about a team that's number one in the Big Ten and was number one in the country for a few weeks. There can't be that much disparity.
I guess the reason would be for that is that Trace Jackson Davis really has to play the 5, and that's what Duncombe plays. You got to find a way. Can you play can you come up with an offensive system where you can basically play 2-5 guys who both have to be around the basket? I think they've been trying to get away from that. But, the flip side of that is Malik Renew basically has to play the 5 too, because most of the baskets I've seen him score is him getting the ball in the low block, and he has those spin moves and the duck in, up and under, and scores. And as he's gotten scouted in the Big Ten, everybody knows he's almost essentially all left-handed, which way he's going to go with the ball, and they take it away from him, and he's gotten frustrated at times and turned the ball over. So I don't know. I just think if you have games like you have against Northwestern where you fall behind by 17 points because dudes aren't defending. It was a 34-17, right, at one point? Give somebody else a chance. I mean, have somebody sit for a while and say, hey, if that's the effort you're going to give in terms of defensively and or being serious about taking care of the ball, then you can sit and watch for a while.
I agree. Let's see. Tonight, Indiana is in. Luckily, they flew yesterday, so they will get to play their game tonight against Penn State. I don't know if that's going to be lucky for Indiana or not, because Penn State, Shrewsbury's got them playing well. They're going to smell blood in the water. They have always given Indiana a tough time there regardless. And so this is another must-win game for Indiana. Otherwise, they go to 1-4 in the Big Ten.
Right. I mean, Illinois bounced back last night. They were down there at 1-3 with Indiana, and they went on the road and won impressively at Nebraska. And they've had a lot of turmoil in their program with guys getting mad at Underwood, and Sky Clark, their 5-star recruit guard, announced over the weekend he was leaving. So, this is the time of the year where you need to sort of figure it out and get it back together and show the desperation that Iowa showed against Indiana. Indiana needs to go into Penn State and show the kind of desperation that they've seen from other teams this year, and not get, the thing that's consistently shows up is when they play teams that are physical, they get out physicaled, I think. I mean, Rutgers has done it consistently. Penn State's going to try and do it. And Indiana has to show that, no, that's not going to happen. So we'll see.
Let's see. And last question on this: if they lose this game,
right,
where's Indiana? How much trouble are they in?
I haven't looked at I mean, they're treading. I mean, they were at one point early on a 2 or 3 seed. They're down now, what, 8 or 9?
Yeah, they continue to fall like a rock.
They're going to be a bubble team. I mean, if they lose this game and if they lose it at home against the Wisconsin Saturday, I mean, they're absolutely a bubble team. And
I agree.
It's just going to get harder. I mean, I don't even know what they have next week, but they got to play Purdue twice. They got to play Michigan twice, I think. Ohio State's coming up. I mean, I don't know. They need to turn it around. They got to win one of these 2 games this week. They have to.